Hey everyone, welcome back to Beauty School Bobbi. Today I am doing a recap episode of 2025 and I'm going to do this one solo. I wanted to have a chance to actually talk about what this year looks like, and doing this has made me actually really excited to recap where we are and think about what the year looked like for us. Because as we know, the time just flies and it somehow just like all runs together. So to look at what happened in 2025 was so fun. I scrolled through past episodes. I went back to look at like through my camera roll to see where we've been and what we've done. And I'm so excited to talk about it today. So, today I really want to just kind of talk about the way that we've changed in 2025, because I feel like this year has been an insane year of growth, which I feel like we say that every year, but this year in particular really challenged me in ways that I wasn't expecting, nor had you told me all of the things that would happen that I like don't even think I would have been ready for it whatsoever. But I feel like this year, as far as growth goes, really challenged not just me, but Mark and I in a lot of ways to really get rooted in kind of who we are and what we're doing and what we want. And a lot of that started just through, identifying what we're doing with the show, what we're doing just in our personal life. But a lot of the stuff that really helped or changed this year was that we did decide that this was something that we wanted to commit to, that doing the Beauty School Bobbi podcast on top of everything else, like we kind of recheck in and be like, where are we going? What are we doing with this? It has always just kind of been a hobby and a side project. It was not always organized. We weren't on a schedule. It was kind of like when we met somebody that we wanted to talk to, we would squeeze in time to get them on the show. But recently we changed to recording every Monday. So we've been consistent with recording every Monday, knowing that the episode that we're recording is coming out the next Monday. Mark really took over the scheduling process of all of this and got us really, like, in a very detailed way, got us scheduled on a rotation of when we're posting, what we're posting, and when. And that has been so helpful for us because it helps us plan our week. But also, I know when I'm scheduling guests that I need to have a certain amount lined up so that we can have some episodes like planned, and that we're not going to be in a position where we're like, oh, yeah, what do we want to do today? Like, what are we talking about? It really took a lot of the pressure off of me, I think, for what we're recording and what we're talking about, because I can kind of write down ideas and be like, oh yeah, I want to talk about this on the podcast and who do I want to talk about this with, and then we kind of schedule from there. But this year the audience has grown. We just hit 28,000 downloads. So we are so excited about that. And again, it just never was consistent. And I think that was a huge game changer for us. And I think that was, as far as like this show goes, the biggest change and the biggest, what do I want to say? Just like the thing that really got us on track. And I'm so thankful for all of you that have listened through this year. We've done things a little bit different. I was like so anti Zoom calls prior to this year. And I think that just the idea of not being with a person or having the person next to me while I'm talking to them, because I think so much of the way that I interact with people or the way that I can get interested in what somebody's saying, I feel like so much of that comes from them physically being near me. But we did switch to being able to record virtually more. And that has actually not been as bad as I thought it was going to be. I still wish that everybody that I was recording with was like in the room with me, but we've made that transition easy. The connection piece of it hasn't been as big of a deal as I thought it was going to be. I think that it mostly helps, though, also that we record with people that we kind of know. I know that we have some scheduled coming up that they are people that I haven't met before, but because this is just our show and we do this together, we don't have somebody telling us, oh, hey, you have to record with this person or this person. We really get to choose who we want to record with. And we still have that say about who we're talking to. Credibility, almost couldn't say that word. Credibility is huge for me and Mark. And we want to make sure that we are giving a platform to people that are good. I think so much of what Mark and I love in life is meeting people that, are a light and are doing good and are a positive influence. It's really what draws us to people. And so I think that being able to hold true to that and really be able to still control the content is so key for us. I don't ever never say never, but I really feel like us being in charge of who we are interviewing is so important. So being able to continue to do that has been awesome. And through that, we've had some amazing interviews this year. When I was going back through the podcasts, I was just listening or looking at all of the people that we've been able to interview. I know 2026 will be a lot more people because we didn't start consistently recording until we were probably halfway through 2025. So I'm really excited for what's coming up. But just looking back through who we've talked to and what we've been able to do, I think one of my favorite things that we got to do this year, because I have always loved the more documentary style shows. Like I'm so into documentaries and really just gravitate towards like mostly it's like food travel shows. I've always been a huge fan of Anthony Bourdain and Somebody Feed Phil and all of those shows. And so, ideally that would be a show that we have someday, is like traveling and eating and meeting people. The only thing missing from our show right now is the food part of it. But we got to go and interview our friends in North Carolina. And when we got to shoot that, we recorded the drive on the way to the school. And so that episode was with Preston and Summer Wilson, who are opening up a beauty school in Charlotte, North Carolina. And when we shot that, I know that Preston is a little more quiet, and I didn't know how the interview would go with us just sitting there staring at a camera. So we had said, like, why don't we try to record on the drive on the way to the school, because we were actually driving there to see all of the work that they had done and what the school actually looked like. So Mark set up cameras in the car or phones. Right? It was phones. Yeah. So we recorded like on cell phones, and which is not something we typically do, but he had set up cameras and different angles. So that was so fun to me. I loved shooting in that way where it was like adventure and we're doing something. So that was so fun. That was probably my highlight episode of the year, just because of how fun that was to shoot for us. And just doing something a little bit more than sit down interview. Mark and I have talked about doing a different format for the show, but it's a lot more production. Mark is my production. So adding in these more complicated things, although he will figure anything out that he needs to figure out for me, it is a lot more work on him. And so until we have a team of people and until we can commit a lot more time to what we're doing, I think it's going to be this way and the style for a while. But I think eventually, switching it up to be like, we are actually shooting and having a meal with someone. We're sitting down with somebody that we love and we are talking over food and drinks. Like I want that so bad. And so maybe 2026 will be the year that we're like actually able to make that happen. But for now, this is what the setup is. But getting to do a different version was so much fun. We talked to some pretty incredible people this year. And I think what I'm so proud of is that we really identified topics for everybody. We really got a clear plan of like, oh, this is the expert in this field, or this person, we met them and they were talking to us about this thing with Corey Gray from Hair Distry. Like we had met him at Beauty Gives Back and he was telling me about this trip that he had just taken. And I'm like, we got to record about this. Like, this is so cool and people need to hear this. So I think I'm really learning more about what topics people want to hear about, and just different ways that we can highlight different amazing things in the industry. I think that being able to have certain topics and really talk to the professionals and the experts in that is definitely something I want to continue to do. So that was really big for us. I had so much fun recording this year. I feel like we finally, going from where we started, and not even just at the beginning of this year, but where we started in general with this show being like on a recorder, and then Mark would edit the podcast and all these things. Like, it felt chaotic for a long time, which is why I think we weren't able to just stick to a schedule and have it organized, because we were just still figuring all of it out. And I know that it will change and the equipment will change and the way that we shoot, but I finally feel like we have a really clear system for recording. And so I'm very, very proud of that. I'm so happy that we are where we are with all of this. And again, thank you so much for listening. I think that the audience growing in the way that it has and the engagement growing in the way that it has been really awesome, and just so fulfilling for just some other people believing in this thing that we're doing. I think I live in multiple different worlds or realms of like the version that people see of me, and getting to be more myself on this, and realizing that I want to bring more of my personality to this, and I want to show more of who I am just in person, is really, really exciting. And I love that so much. So I think the show growth this year has been my favorite. Mark, what else about the show has changed this year? I'm making Mark talk more on the show. There's a lot of that. I've had to force him to like hop on some calls, but everyone we meet loves Mark so much. He's just magic. And getting to have you on here more, and like I do force him to be in the room with me while we record. There was a couple times that he would go downstairs and just listen while we were recording in case anything messed up. But now I'm like, no, I need you here in the room with me. So what's your like highlight or like thought looking back on the last year?
I don't know. I feel like we've made some good steps. I think for me, the way that we do the interviews at Beauty Gives Back, when we started doing them there, it was faster and easier, and it just seemed like when things are easier for me, I feel like it helps the mood of the show, like just because my interactions with everyone is a little smoother maybe.
Yeah. What was your favorite interview or favorite moment? Like what episode did you, because Mark has to listen not only while we record, but he has to listen and edit. So like no one knows the Beauty School Bobbi podcast more than you. What, if you look back, like was somebody even at Beauty Gives Back or ABS or something, was there anyone that's really a standout for you of who we had on the show, who we got to interview?
Every once in a while I'll start talking with somebody that you're about to interview, or right after you interview them, and I just connect with them in a different way. And for some reason, we didn't even talk about too much. It was just real short time, but Precious at Beauty Gives Back.
Yes.
She really just made my day, you know?
Yeah, she's so great. And our interview was so short with her, but we had so much time with her at Beauty Gives Back. I think that's the thing that when I talk about the documentary style or whatever, I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I want more of those interactions that we have. And not that everything, it's not a reality show, but we have such amazing connections with people. So Precious was one of the scholarship winners at Beauty Gives Back, but this girl, like, I mean, just we couldn't get enough. And she was so sweet and I think deserved that scholarship so much. Like, she is somebody that truly was grateful, like, really, really grateful for the opportunity to get that. And then also, I mean, I think just the connect, like the conversations we had, like, there's just some people that you meet and you're instantly like, wow. And that does happen to Mark and I a lot. I mean, I think Mark and I build connections really quickly with people, but there was something about her that was such a light. Like, she truly just lit up the room, and with just being so vulnerable. I think, like, I don't know if vulnerable is the right word, but she was so open and so honest and real. I mean,
very genuine.
Yeah, like extremely genuine. I think that we really got to like know who she was as a person, just as through our interactions. And again, it's why these events in the beauty industry matter so much. And even if you're not on the stage, like, even if you're there just as an attendee, you just don't know who you're going to meet, that like changes you. I mean, I think it really, we both had that experience of like, this is why we're doing this. Like, this is why we do what we do. We want to highlight people like this. And she loved to be able to talk to us, like to be interviewed. She thought that was so cool. But then also, like, just again, the amount of times that we would cross paths with her at the show or after, we interviewed her. And then I got to see her meet somebody that she really looks up to in the industry. And it's somebody that I know very well. And so when she met Kia, like, that moment was so amazing to watch her meet somebody that she just looks up to so much. So I think all of that was just, so beautiful. I think that's a good transition into our trips this year. I think we traveled a lot this year. Mark and I have to be, just because, we're parents, we have a family and we have jobs and businesses and all the things. So it's not easy for us to just like hop on a plane and go. I think the thing that sometimes makes that hard, that I realized this year more than any other year, is that because it's both of us, there's a lot more pieces that we have to put together in order to go somewhere. We, I mean, even at Beauty Gives Back, when we were going up in September, which we had always had to say no to the show because we couldn't figure out, childcare or whatever. But even this year, our plan had changed for that. And just knowing that because it's a mother and a father that are doing this work together, it does add a challenge. I know that a ton of people in the beauty industry can hop on a plane and travel, and their partner or spouse or whoever they have that's supporting them can tap in. But when it's us and we both have to be there to do the job, it makes it a little more complicated. So this year was, we didn't get to go to everything that we wanted to go to. I feel like if we attempted to go to every event in the beauty industry that I want to be at, we would never be home. And, Mark and I have had this dream of like RV life where we travel and we just, show up with the kids and all of that stuff. And we're slowly moving towards being able to do that. I mean, we got to travel with our family this year to Chicago, and we paired up the trip to America's Beauty Show for the press conference. We were like, well, that's over fall break and we can make it work, and let's make it, let's extend our trip a little bit and we'll have the kids with us. And now that Will was old enough, they're able to be alone by themselves for a little bit longer than they have been for, or for any amount of time. They've never really been alone before. And so them getting to be able to do that and come with us has definitely made it easier for us to make it to that press conference even. So I think that we're getting to a place where it's not always going to be like this. I mean, that's the one thing about parenthood or motherhood that my mom told me from like the day I had Will. I mean, I remember her telling me that, the sleepless night, like, this isn't going to be forever. And you have to know, but it takes a long time to trust and believe that you're just like not stuck in that fog forever. And like that they're not going to be infants forever and things are going to get easier. So I think we're starting to see glimpses of them getting older and what that looks like, and in the ways that, we hate it. I hate that they're growing so quickly, but it is, making certain things a little bit easier. And I definitely think us being able to travel for the show was a big part of that, because we also, we do America's Beauty Show every year. And so we were able to go to that, and had an amazing, amazing year this year at America's Beauty Show. We did Beauty Gives Back. Just being able, what else did we attend? Like, I feel like we went to other things, but it's just like leaving my head right now. But going and getting to cover those events is so fun. So the travels of this year were incredible. I think the highlight was obviously Chicago. Just every time we go up there, we love it so, so much. I guess we were up there 3 times this year. So we were in Chicago a lot. We were in Chicago more than we were anywhere else that wasn't Knoxville. So I really just have such a deep love for Chicago, and getting to go and like really be tourists there was so fun. So I know there will be more Chicago in this upcoming year, but I know there's other places that we want to get to for events as well. So I'm excited for what it is to come for that, and like where we're going to be, where we're going to end up this year. Cause we have some things planned, but I know that we will add things as they come up as well. So I think as far as the show goes, like that's kind of my recap. Is there anything that you feel like I'm forgetting to talk about? I mean, I think just, the scheduling and the travel, like it was a big year for us. We are going to hopefully start working with some more brands this year, and really, try to connect in a different way. I think one of the things that I do know is that, opportunities come when they're meant for you, and timing is just everything. There's so many things I look back on now and I'm like, well, we wouldn't have been able to do that because we weren't in this place yet. We didn't have this system figured out, or we didn't have, whatever in place that we would have even been able to do it. Or if we would have done it, we wouldn't have done it at the 100% A+ over the top way, that we can now with how we have things figured out. I know with the Beauty Gives Back interview style that Mark was talking about, at America's Beauty Show, when we interview, it can be a little bit before we get those interviews back. But Mark spends so much time like researching and studying and figuring out new ways to do things, and just had figured out a way to basically like put some templates in place where we were able to put out the interviews like immediately they were done. So the editing time on the back end, wasn't there as much. So that was huge for us. And we updated artwork. We really just kind of updated this year. I feel like we really were like, okay, we need to stop and instead of just what's in place, what do we want to change, and what do we want to do differently? And I know we have some segments that we want to add in. So if you all have any ideas of segments we could do, we have a section on the Beauty School Bobbi website on beautyschoolbobbi.com where you can write in questions. And I don't even know if we've ever talked about that on the podcast. I don't know if we've ever said that before, but if you go to the Beauty School Bobbi website, you can actually write in questions, because I want to answer your questions. I feel like I kind of know what people should be talking about, or what conversations are happening professionally in the industry. But I really want to know what our audience wants to hear us talk about, or, questions that you have. So maybe we'll get more of those and do some episodes with some questions in the upcoming year. But I think for the show, I think that's it. I think that's my recap. But personally, like I said, I think some things hit us this year, or, we're actually still navigating and figuring out, a lot of the ways that we're changing and growing. And when I say this year has been a huge year for growth, I think that that's always going to be the case. I think that Mark and I, we call it fine tuning, and we did an episode on just the way that things have changed, just in me being 38. And I really just think like fine tuning and just creating the life that we want to have, and living in a way that makes us happy. Mark and I both are two people that want everything to be at a level 10 all the time, like the best day, the best outcome, the best everything. And that's not how life works. So I think that I've spent a lot of time, whether it be in books or podcasts, audiobooks. I think that I've done a lot of work on myself this year, and really tried to, identify, kind of who I am and what I want. I got diagnosed with ADHD earlier in the year. And I think that getting on medication for that and figuring that out really put me in a place of like, oh, I'm seeing the world in a different way. I'm seeing, because now there's not all of this noise, distraction and stuff in my head. I'm really like, oh, wait, this is kind of how most people feel all the time. And I had to learn a new normal. And we're definitely still figuring out that new normal. And I think for me, I'm somebody that just, I idolizes everything so much. And so when I, expect things to be a certain way or plan for things to be a certain way, it's really hard when that doesn't turn out the way that I want it to. And like I said, we all know that life is in no way in our control, or, things are going to happen. But I think understanding now that you have to be steady and you have to be rooted so that when those things happen, you can kind of just sway and move with those things that you just can't control. I definitely was somebody that struggled with control issues, again, with the best intentions. Like I just wanted everything to be the best possible at all times, like the best situation at all times. And really learning that how I want to be in those situations or how I want to react to situations. I think that at the beginning of the year, compared to now, I've slowed down on my reactions a lot. I don't know if that's the medicine working or what that's from, but I just haven't. I will immediately react like to Mark, or if something happens, I will be like, hey, this is happening, or my friends or whoever. And I'll be like, whatever, but I'm just not reacting to things as quickly as I used to. And that might just be growth and growing up. And maybe that's just a normal part of life. But if you're in the same phase of life as me, you may be experiencing that as well, being like, I don't have to react to everything immediately. I can take a second and take emotion out of it, because emotion changes. Like I was somebody that would really like have big emotions about something. And then 2 hours later, I'm like, okay, I'm okay. Maybe it's not that big of a deal. I needed to like have the tantrum and get that all out. And then I can start to think clearly and process how I want to respond. So I think a slower response time is something that I'm carrying right now. And I'm so thankful for it. I feel like I am, when it comes to situations where, I don't know, we've just dealt with a lot of situations this year that required us to be non-reactive right away. Because I think if you react quickly, there's a lot of damage that can be done. And maybe I learned that from damaging some things and then, realizing like, oh, wait, that could have been, handled differently. So I'm a fixer. So I think that when there is a problem or something comes to me, I just want to fix it immediately. I want to get it. I want the awkwardness or weirdness or anything like out of the way. But now understanding like you can take time, not everything needs to be fixed immediately, and not even everything needs to be fixed that day. There's emergency situations that you have to react to, but then there are some things that are like, well, let's think about this. What do we want to do with this? Let's pause. There's so many times at work at the beauty school that will come up, a situation will arise, and then or if somebody brings something to me, and really understanding that I have that space to be like, okay, I have all the information and now I need to like process it. You might be listening and be like, yeah, that's obvious. I know that was something I had to learn how to do this year. And that has felt just so much better for me. And I'm really, really thankful that all of the things that happened that weren't necessarily pleasant things happened, because it is helping us to grow and change, I think, in a much better way. Not that there was like a ton of lows, but when there are things that come up that Mark and I are pretty like, just, keep to ourselves, want to be happy, like all those things. But when you exist in this world and you have to deal with people that aren't necessarily always like that, it's super important that you keep your composure and that you're not reacting in a way or just reacting based on how they're feeling or what their emotions are. So that was big for us this year. When I think back of what has changed the most about me over this year, it's definitely that. And again, we're still figuring it out. It's a conversation that we have constantly. And I think we're so lucky to be able to have people in our life, like Stephen and Tia, who we can talk about these changes with, or talk, like kind of go through these, these waves with. And so yeah, just super thankful for that kind of growth, and excited for a much more clear understanding, going forward. And that was big. Do you have any comments on that growth that you want to say on? He's literally shaking his head. He's like, I'm not going to comment on the ways that you used to react or how you react now. You're like, that's scary. But you feel that way too, though. I feel like that wasn't just a one-sided thing. I definitely think it's something that you and I both have figured out together this year.
Yeah.
And so I think that, just kind of predictions for what is gonna, happen this year. I think there's going to be a lot more of that. I think, becoming more stable and, just really identifying, I think, who I am, what leadership style that means. I mean, I think that being in any kind of leadership role, I didn't realize how much of that, because it was always like problem solution. I didn't realize how much of that did actually rely on me. And when you have a team, your team is operating, based on your emotions and your reactions. And I think that a lot of the staff at the school, we've had, kind of a lot of conversations this year that I've had to jump in on situations or projects, even like not anything negative, but just how we have implemented structure into the school, and just working on projects with the staff has been really, really fun, because I think they're getting to see that different side of me. I think because I was so high energy all the time, this more calm, I think it's better. I think that it's, more well received, and I think things are operating in a way that's better. And again, because I'm in a leadership role, it makes sense that the more stable I can be, the more stable the team is going to be. And so that, not only that growth didn't only affect me and our family, it affected, everyone that I work with. It affects all the students. Like, I just think there's a lot of benefits of, really doing that work on yourself to figure out, where maybe you can work on some things to make yourself better. And who knows, like this might change and it might be a completely different way next year, but this is definitely, I think, what was working, best for us. And then as far as predictions, yeah. So I wanted to do like some predictions for next year. There is a lot of change in the beauty industry, and I think that we're going to continue to see a lot of change, and maybe not so much from the standpoint of the beauty professional themselves, but from a standpoint of education. There's always been a lot of conversations about beauty schools and standards for beauty schools and all of that. But right now, at least in our state, in Tennessee, I think that there's a lot of schools that are doing hybrid. There's schools that are, just popping up like out of nowhere. And it's scary. I've had this conversation with a friend of mine, and I think that we're actually going to record a webinar together at the end of January to have this conversation on a bigger scope. But there's been a lot of negative attention towards beauty school. And, one of the things that we talk about a lot is that obviously negative attention gets the views. It gets, people worked up, and people want to be negative, unfortunately, especially online. And so I think that we're going to see a little bit of a shift on the idea of beauty school. And I think that hopefully the way that I am looking at that is to continue to be a school that, services the student. The student is our number one priority. Staff and students are everything. And so having good staff creates great students, but culture is changing, and the type of student that we're getting into the school is changing. And I think a lot of schools, kind of going back to what I was saying a little bit ago, is I think there's a lot of reactions right now to things, and everyone's like, well, we have to do this because this is that or that. And I just feel like right now there's a lot of people that want change, maybe from a student perspective more than school owners. But I do think that, and this might be something we end up talking a lot more about on the show, is, is beauty school a little bit more, because I think that what I've realized this year also is that we are extremely different, and what we're doing at Tennessee School of Beauty is not how every beauty school operates. So we've had a ton of transfer students that have kind of given us that insight. And then just knowing through not only just what you hear online, but other people's experiences. I think that a lot of beauty professionals are like, well, just get your license, put in the time. And I'm like, well, it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be a negative experience. I think some students are going to have a negative experience no matter what, because they've just chosen to make life hard, or they don't really want to be there. I think that's a reality that I've learned this year, is I think that some people come into the industry maybe because their parents just tell them that they have to do something. Or we've said this forever about the, people think it's easy to be in this space, and it's just absolutely not. So if I have a prediction for what is going to happen this year in 2026, I think that a lot more change is going to come from that perspective, or maybe it's just going to be something that we deep dive into a lot more on the show. So that's kind of what I see. And I hope that it's going to be honest conversations. And I think making sure that we're able to have honest conversations and doing things the right way is going to be what we continue to do. I don't think that we have a ton of work to do. I think in years past, I've been like, okay, so, we have these big things, but I think just like in our personal life, the things at the school are really fine tuning. I want perfection all the time, but you're never going to get perfection 100% of the time. So there's no restaurant in the world that gets every order right 100% of the time. There's mistakes that are going to happen, but they're not going to be huge mistakes that are life-changing or anything like that. So I'm excited for the year at the school. I'm excited that we've been able to balance what we're doing with the show with my job at the school and with roles changing. It's not like we've done more with the show, and so my responsibility at the school has gone down. It's opposite. It's both have been rising this year, and what is required of me is rising. One thing that we were big on was the idea that we needed to be in our best version of ourselves so that we could continue to walk through the doors that are being opened for us. So I think that's really my mindset going into 2026. If you're starting beauty school this year, I wanted to give some advice, because right now, and it's not just my For You page, I've had people like reaching out to me. And again, my friend that we're going to record a webinar with, is kind of how the conversation started with her, is that, social media plays such a big role in how students are coming into the industry and how they're finding the school. And it's very popular right now to just be like, it's the worst, don't do it. Like there's all these videos that are like, the one that I just like keep saying is, I'm starting beauty school in 3 weeks, what's your advice? And it's just like comment after comment after comment of, don't do it, it's awful, worst time of my life, like just negative. But if you look at our students and our students' social media and what they're actually doing inside the school, it's like everything but that. I'm like, come into what we're doing. And I know, again, that not every beauty school is like this. So there are negative experiences and there are schools that aren't doing it right. But as a whole, to generalize that is like, don't do it, it's awful. College has like such a high dropout rate, and people don't talk about that as much as it's talked about in the beauty industry. People don't stay in their field the way, that they do in the beauty industry. I think so many people have gone to traditional college, got their degree, and they're not doing anything with it, right? Like we've all heard those stories, or maybe that's you listening, but it's the case for me. And I think that just understanding that you just can't take everyone's experience as what is right for you. My advice is really to try to have a positive attitude about what you're doing. If you're going into something, signing up for something, paying for something, but you're like, oh, it's going to be horrible, then don't do it. It's not the right time for you to step into it. And maybe that's just not the right time of your life to go into it. But if you're not all hands on deck, excited, ready, like not every day. It doesn't mean that you have to show up every day like that. But you should be majority excited to do it. And if you're already like, oh, it's going to be awful, then it's going to be awful. It's going to be a bad experience no matter where you go. I think if you are coming into beauty school in 2026, my biggest piece of advice is to get ready to be open to opportunities that are going to help you grow there. It's not just learning how to do the technical skills or the soft skills of working with a client. Those are so important. But also consider that you're going to be meeting a ton of new people that might be very different from you. So being excited and open-minded about that, I think that so many people form really, really valuable friendships in beauty school, and being excited about that. If nothing else, that's an amazing gift in your life to be able to be in beauty school with the people that you're in beauty school at the time with. So many of our students at graduations will say, like, I'm so thankful I started this class with you because I gained my best friend, or I gained my person, or if I would have not been in your class, it would have been whatever. And I think that's a huge part of what we're doing at the school. And I think at every beauty school, like, make the best of it that you can. And every single day, try to make it fun. It's just, you're there to get 1,500 hours or however many hours it is in your state, and just make it fun. That's what we try to do, like the dress up days and the opportunities of field trips and salon visits and volunteering. Like, just get involved. And if somebody that you are friends with ends up becoming negative, like, just make sure it doesn't pull you down also. I think that it's, again, very easy to be negative, and it sometimes you can get sucked into that, and it's easier to complain along with your friend instead of leaving your friend. But sometimes you just have to leave people behind. Mark, what was the way that you said it about being on a path, and when you're going, like, what were we talking about the other night?
People veering off the path, and people, and them only wanting people in their life that encourage them no matter what their choices are. So if their trajectory is bad, or maybe not the healthiest or best for them, they tend to lean into the friends and family they have that will support that veering off the path, rather than when somebody in their life tries to guide them back onto a healthier path with their best interest in mind, they tend to get defensive and
they just want to shut you out. Yeah. Right. And it is hard. And whether that's like at work, in the salon, or whatever, it's hard to cut those ties. It's hard to have those conversations. And again, like, this isn't anything that we have figured out completely, but I think through living as long as we've lived, we are learning that it's just not always going to be up to you to fix it, or it's not going to be up to you to make it better. But I think being in relationships where you can hold people accountable, when your friend starts missing school a ton, they start skipping school, and you say, hey, come on, like, let's go. They might not take that path. It's not just as easy as like, oh, I just have to say something and encourage them, and they're going to make the right choice. Sometimes they're just going to, put their feet in the ground. What's the phrase?
Heels.
Oh, they're going to dig their heels in. That's the quote. Every time we record, like, I'm always like, what's that quote about this? Yeah, sometimes people are just going to dig their heels in, and they are going to go off on a different path, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be, negative. The relationship might change and the friendship might look different, but you have to continue on your path. And as sad as it is to lose somebody, or to be like, man, they had so much going for them, like, it's not up to you to control that. And that took me a really long time to figure out. And I do see that happen a lot at the school, is when friendships do change. It's hard to handle that. And it's not something that you want to add into your life. And it's a huge distraction for your own goals. I think true friendship is where you can be exactly who you are in whatever way that you show up. I think just like a marriage or any long-term relationship, family, friends, whatever that is, you have to be able to hold people accountable. That's like a huge thing in all of our friendships. And that is on us too. Like I might not be showing up at a 10, for somebody, or we might be going to go do something. And I'm like, hey, I just am not super feeling right now, or I feel weird, or I'm sad. Like all of that is okay, as long as you're not hurting another person, as long as you're not putting somebody else in a bad situation. Just being able to be adaptable through that is really important. I think we all have gotten like really soft in the way of not being able to take criticism well, or it feels like an attack if somebody is saying like, oh, hey, I've noticed, like just like the example that Mark gave of, hey, I've just noticed that you've been veering off a little bit. I noticed that you've been missing a lot of school, which is now going to push your graduation date. Like you can still continue to be the light. You can still continue to be encouraging and on your path that's positive, and it doesn't have to be immediate, cut out of, but even if the relationship does look different, that's okay. That's something that I really was not prepared for. It was like lifers was everybody I met, I thought was going to be in my life forever. I thought everybody was going to just stay happy and good, and that there wouldn't be problems. And I'm super optimistic in that way. And I don't want to lose that part of myself. I don't want to lose that I do genuinely think the best of everybody immediately. But I think when somebody does show you a different way, or if they're taking a different path, just understanding that like that's a chapter of your life that you got to have somebody, and maybe it's going to be different. I think it happens a lot also after graduation for students. From what I'm noticing, I talk to a lot of the graduates still, and I'm like, hey, have you talked to so and so? And they were besties in beauty school, but then you get a job at a different salon and life gets challenging, but you should still make time to show up for those people. It's never been easier to communicate. I think making time to just go grab dinner or grab coffee or whatever. There's some of my best friends don't live here. So it's not like I get to see them all the time, or our life is just so busy that even squeezing in like a date night or doing anything alone is hard. But that's okay. I think you can't hold people to like, well, we have to see each other every day. If you're in a relationship where it's like you have to see somebody every day to keep that relationship going, like it probably isn't the, strongest relationship. I think if you have 5 people that you have in your circle at all times that you can text for no matter what, and you can show up for them and they can show up for you, like I really feel like that's about it. 5 people is lucky. 5 people is great for that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like the whole group stays together forever, because we all just, have different paths and different ways that we're living life. So if I can give any advice for people that are starting beauty school, I hope that your experience isn't negative due to anything that the school is doing. I hope that the experience is positive. I hope that you really realize that this is just step 1 into your career. I deal with so many people that are starting beauty school and then in beauty school that I do feel like there's a lot of people that think of beauty school as, I just have to get this part done and then it is like smooth sailing. But even some of the graduates that I see at Whitney Evans, when I get my hair done, they're like, oh, we thought that was the hard part. And what the hard part is when this is your job and this is how you are paying your bills, that is where the real challenge comes in, because that's when you're working for it. So also people considering beauty school, like knowing that this is just the beginning. If starting this process feels hard and you just can't do it, and it isn't like, I feel like that is maybe a sign that it might not be the right time. And going out into a salon, like making sure that you really find those good people in the right place, and making sure you end up where you can be yourself and can be happy is key. And then the other things will fall into place. So that's my advice for beauty school students. Do you have any advice for beauty school students? You're like basically as educated in the industry at this point like through doing this show. What advice do you have?
Just keep on trucking. I don't know.
Just keep on the path.
Yeah.
That's what Stephen always says too. Just stay on the path and just find your people that you can just get through it with, and, talk to your teachers, talk to the administration, like really, build your circle. Building your circle is really everything. So my goal for 2026 is to continue to work on myself, work on our marriage and our family, all while staying rooted and grounded and what makes us happy, those small moments of joy. That's really what I'm focusing on right now, that I'm taking into the new year, is finding those little moments of joy, because living in the world is hard, and it's really, really hard to exist with a ton of negativity around it. Like, everybody I talk to says they feel that it's just hard right now. The world is not insanely positive, and that's why we just have to look for it. You have to be like, oh my gosh, I love listening to this when I'm in the car, or I love just spending Sunday hanging out with everybody and cooking, and just being like, I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to create in this way. And so I think finding those small moments of joy is really, really important. So that's really what my focus is going into 2026, is just making sure that we're steady and grounded, and continuing to find the joy and happiness of this life that we've been given, because it is going by so quickly. And just already being like 38, what? Like, how are we already here? Our kids are growing quickly. So just making sure that we're not going to miss it, making sure that we're not filling our time with, things that we don't need to be filling our time with, saying yes to the right things, and just committing to aligning with the right people. That's my goal for 2026. So I'm so excited. I think we have a really big year ahead of us, and I'm just so excited to see what opportunities we get to walk into this year, and what is going to be put in our path, because once we committed to doing this, so many opportunities came our way. Again, not we can't say yes to everything, but so much good came our way, and we met so many amazing people this year. And I'm just really, really excited for what's next for us. So make sure that you are following along with us. I hope that you have, subscribed, liked, make sure that you do all of that for me. I we ask at the end of every episode, but actually saying it really, really helps what we're doing. It helps to support what we're doing so that we can keep doing this. So make sure that you've subscribed to YouTube, that you are, subscribed on the podcast, wherever you listen. Make sure that you like the videos. All of that engagement really does help to spread this message even farther. And I'm so thankful for all of you that have listened this year. So I can't wait for 2026. Let's go.